Hello everybody! I'm going to show you how to make a larger than matte Olaf today. I am getting ready for my daughter's birthday, and so she is obsessed with Frozen 2 and Olaf, and I think it'd be amazing to make her a giant Olaf. So I'm going to be using an SVG file straight off of Cricut Design Space, or Cricut Access, sorry. So we're going to go to Images, and we're going to type in Olaf. They actually have a lot of Disney characters on here if you want to take a look. And they're usually $1.99, as you can see. So I want to get this one. I already purchased it. So we're just going to keep playing with this one. The great thing about this is you can play around with it, and until you actually go to make it, you don't have to pay for it. So you have plenty of time to decide if you actually want to buy it or if you want to switch it out for something else. Alright, I already have made him, so I'm kind of backtracking to show you guys how to do this. So I'm going to make him 28 inches high. I wanted to make him over 35 because I wanted to make him taller than my daughter, but I did not want to have the white glitter cardstock that I was using have any lines in it from getting trimmed, and so I made it 28 inches because that was the biggest I could make without having to cut the white glitter cardstock. When you do have to cut cardstock, it's not a big deal. Most of the time you can't tell the lines unless you're right up next to it, but just for my own personal preference, I decided to not do that. So I'm going to make him 28 inches tall. We're going to zoom out so that we can see what we're doing. What you need to do is go over as soon as you get them to as tall as you want. Again, you might not know how tall you want it until you play around and see what has to get sliced and what doesn't. It's up to you. Honestly, it does not matter if these big front pieces get cut. No one can really tell as long as you glue them well. I just personally didn't want to do that. So you're going to come over here and you're going to hit ungroup. That way you can move around all the pieces. I'm going to move them over by color at the moment. And then here's all the white pieces. Alright. We're going to make these black because I'm going to make them be able to go on the same mat as the background. And then if you take a shape, like a square, and I'm going to make this a different color just so you can see it better, and you put it over top of these pieces, for example, and then you're going to hit send to back, so that way I can click both of them. Hit your shift key, touch the Olaf buttons, and then you're going to come over here and hit slice. If you do that, then what happens is it makes a double copy, so you got to delete those because you don't need them. But now these two buttons are not connected to that button, and you can move them around, and that way you can use less paper or less vinyl when you go to make a larger than matte project. And we don't have to do anything to the mouth because it's the only blue piece. We don't have to do anything to the nose because it's the only orange piece. But now we can do that same slicing effect to the brown parts of Olaf, and then we can move them around easier on the mat as well. Because the hair and the eyebrows are right next to each other, I'm not too concerned about moving those around, but I can definitely move these arms around so that they're not so far away. So I'm going to go again, and I'm going to take a square again, but instead of leaving it as a square, I'm going to unlock it so I can make it a rectangle. I'm going to stretch it out and cover up his arm. You always want to send it to the back so you can make sure that his arm completely fits in there and you're not cutting off any fingers. And then you're going to hold down your shift key again, touch the brown parts of Olaf, and you're going to hit slice. Then you're going to move his arm out of the way, and then here's your extra pieces, and you can just delete them. And now I can move his arm freely, and I can have less usage of paper, and everything can fit nicer. And we're going to do it one more time. Oops, I forgot to unlock it. Send to back. And we're going to shift key and then slice again. And we're going to move this arm. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, I know why. I clicked this brown piece that's no longer in that section. All right. See, even someone who's done this for a little while can do something silly. All right, again, cover it up, move to back. That way you can make sure that all of his fingers are in the box. Shift and slice. Then get rid of the box that you had. And now Olaf's arms are going to be a lot easier to cut out. You can also move them so that they are even closer together and you're using even less material. There. Now they're about as close as you can get. Alright, we're going to move everything over again because right now all of these are done. And we're going to move on to the slightly more complicated, but honestly, once you get a hang of it, it's very easy. So, and I'm going to have to copy and paste. We're going to move one over. We're going to do that 3 times, I believe. Again, hit contour. Hit hide all contours. It's going to show you his bum. And then we're going to hit shift and we're going to select these 2 pieces for his feet. And then we're going to just get off of it, and that's the only pieces that are going to be left. Now, you could also click on these 2 buttons. Then those would be cut out, and that's where you would insert his buttons after you cut him out on your mat. But I don't need little cutouts to show me where his buttons go, and I'd rather his buttons that I'm gluing on him stick out a little bit, so I'm not going to show these. It is up to you what you prefer. So now there's his bum, and you can see it's 11.92 by 11.76. In order for it to fit on your mat, it has to be 11.5 by 11.5. And I'm very confused how that could be bigger than 11.5 when, like I said, I had already made this, which is why he was 28 inches tall. So, alright guys, I changed the height of my project to 27 inches because that way his butt fits on the mat. That way it's less than 11.5 on both. Now, I'm going to have to go upstairs and measure my Olaf because I swear he was 28 inches. But this is proving to be otherwise because he wouldn't have fit and we would have had to slice his butt. So, changed him to 27 inches tall so that we wouldn't have to worry about the glitter cardstock getting cut. Again, I'll show you what I mean when we get to his back. But we're going to go again. We're going to copy and paste so we can continue to contour his body parts out. So you're going to go to contour. You're going to hit hide all contours. And we'll do his face next. So you're going to unclick his butt because we already have him. And then we're going to hit our shift key. I'm going to cut out his mouth. I'm going to cut out his eyes and nose. And I'm going to cut out his tooth. And we're going to need his eyebrows, or just one, because the other one's already cut out. And then we're going to exit off of here and make sure. Oh, I forgot one piece. I forgot his little eyeball. So we're going to go back. And we're going to contour one more time. Hide all contours. Click his face. Unclick his bottom. We're going to add in his mouth, his eyes, his tooth, and we're missing his little eyeball. And then we're going to exit off, and there we go. So now this is his whole entire face, and I don't have to worry about, piecing him back together like all of these. And now all we need is his middle section. Again, I'm not going to cut out his little buttons, so we're just going to select his middle section. So we're going to hit contour one last time, hide all. We're going to find his middle section, unclick his bottom, and again, you could cut out the little circles so that you know exactly where you want his buttons to go. I didn't find it necessary, and I wanted his buttons to stick out a little bit, so I just glued his buttons on top. And there we go. Now we have all three of his sections. Again, check his face, make sure that it's under 11.5. It is, so that is perfect. So maybe his height was 27 inches and I was wrong, but I'm going to go check because I swear it was 28. But anyway, so now this is the part where it's going to get tricky. I have a 12 by 24 mat. This is way over by a few inches on both sides. So we're going to have to slice them. The difficulty is because his hair is so skinny and his arms are so skinny, you're going to want to try and make it so it's connected to a big piece of his face or body so that it's not so flimsy. I am going to eventually put my Olaf on top of a foam board so that he isn't flimsy at all anymore, but especially just for the purposes of him just being on cardstock, you're going to want to be careful with that. So you're going to take a square and we're going to color it just so that it stands out, and we make it bright yellow. And we're going to make it our size of our mat will cut. So our mats are 12 by 12, but they will only cut 11.5 by 11.5. So we're going to do that. There's something I want to say first before we move on. Oh, I do have a 12 by 24 mat, but even if you do the 12 by 24 mat, it assumes that you have a 12 by 12 piece of paper and not a 12 by 24 piece of paper. So it will still cut it at the 12 mark on your mat. So that's why I'm already just going to do a 12 or 11.5 by 11.5. So we're going to duplicate this square, put it next to each other. We're going to hit send to back and send to back. Okay, so right now his hair is going to be on a good part of his face, and we're cutting off maybe a third of his face on the side, but then it's also going to cut his hands off, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to cut his lower parts first so that I can make sure I know what we're doing. Alright, so right now we'd be cutting off part of his bum and then leaving his arm connected to a good part of his body. I can also move him around so I can get just his bum, which I think is what I would like to do. So we're going to hit shift and then slice. Okay, so that only did one of them. Hang on. I didn't select something. Oh, never mind. One of the things that you're going to need to know is you cannot slice more than 2 things at once, which is why that didn't work. So you're going to have to take your Olaf. Oops. Now he's sticking. Take your Olaf and pick one of your mats. Okay, so the thing you need to know about slicing is you can only slice 2 things at once. So I'm going to select my Olaf, And then I'm going to select just one of my mats. Oops. And then I'm going to hit slice. And then I'm not going to move him because I don't want to disconnect the line. So I'm going to hit Olaf again. And then I'm going to hit my other mat. And I'm going to hit slice again. So now I can move him up here. And I can get rid of the extra pieces. And now these will fit on a mat. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then we're going to move him down here. And we're going to make 2 mats again. So you can go over to your shapes, hit a square. We'll make him a different color. And we're going to hit 11.5. Send to back. Send to back. Yeah, Olaf. Olaf. Okay, so right now I don't want to cut off the hands, so I'm either going to have to move him sideways or move him up and down. So instead of having 2 mats, I'm going to delete one, and I'm going to just manipulate the one around. I think we're going to have to cut his head in half, and that way I could focus on his arms. So we're going to slice, get rid of the purple, move his head over. This way his hair, which is going to be really flimsy because it's going to be skinny, is going to be connected to a big part of his face. And then his arms, we're going to have to cut them in half. So they're both connected to a big part of his body. So again, shapes, square. Going to make it a color that we can see better. 11.5. Move back. And then we want to make it so that we have a good portion of body with his arm. I'm trying to look at this little piece right here. If I move him all the way up, there, we can get this all the way up too. So we're going to do that. We're going to have it almost directly in the middle. So select Olaf, select your mat. This is the last time we're going to have to do it. Slice. Get rid of the extra green. And now we have an arm on a good part of a body and an arm on a good part of a body. If you wanted to be a little more on the safe side, you could have had it where his arm was connected to like a bigger piece of this, but I don't think, having a bigger piece up here versus a bigger piece down here is going to change anything. I just wanted to make sure it was joined to a good part of his midsection, which is the skinniest section of him anyway. Alright, so now all you have left to do is hit make it. And I will show you what to do after that.
Okay, so when you get your design off the mat, you're going to want to piece it back together. If you look at your picture on your computer, that's going to help you a lot with making sure you have the pieces the exact way you need them. And then you're going to flip it over so that you can put the tape on the back. You do not want to have any tape showing on the front. You have one of these creases and an opening on your other front pieces. You want to make sure you have these as close together as possible so that you don't have as much of the line possibly peeking through. So you're going to use small pieces of tape. As you could tell, that one was a little bit longer. So I'm going to squeeze it together. and make sure that I don't have any of this line overlapping or popping through, which I think it's overlapping right there. So see if I can lift up this piece of tape. There we go. This is why we use tape. Alright, so you're going to go up to this line. Again, get a few pieces of tape. Squeeze them together. Make sure you close that line as much as possible. That's one thing good about using a very light colored surface like my white table, as you can see when there is any space. Between your pieces. Now one thing about this is, right now this piece looks longer than this piece, so I'm going to have to make sure when I connect these, see that's not right. So something's not lining up. What's not lining up right? Alright, I'm going to join this piece right here. We know this goes here. This piece is not, see how there's a big space? So this piece has to get moved somehow. This is why you don't want to do projects, oops, last minute. Which I'm not, by the way. Alright, so if I line this up, do I have overlap in the front? Alright, so if I line his foot up and the edge of him up, there is a little bit of an overlap right here. It's not that noticeable, but my only suggestion is that this piece somehow, when I was moving it around on Design Space, must have gotten shortened a little bit. So I can leave it because nobody else is going to notice, or I could go fix it. But for now, we're just going to leave it, show you that, you know, things can be flawed and still look good. So I'm going to go back over, tape this a little bit better. Alright, so we're going to flip them over, and we're going to decide which pieces we want to start putting on. Alright guys, so what I did was I lined him up, tried to make sure that I had an even amount of outline around him, and made sure that his head was propped the right way, because there's very little room for error with where you wanted to place his face. Okay, I am using E36000 glue. You don't have to use that. You could use a glue stick, you could use craft glue. I am out of craft glue and I don't want to use a glue stick on glitter cardstock because I feel like it just doesn't hold as well. So I am using a very intense, I guess, glue for this, but I'm not concerned about it because again, I don't want it to move at all. So this is what I chose to use. If you're using this glue, make sure you have a window open. It smells really bad. So I'm going to slightly lift up, and I'm just going to try to go around the edges and obviously put a lot in the middle. Alright, so as you can see, I placed the parts of him on the mat just so I can make sure I knew where I wanted it. Then you're going to press down with your finger. Oh, oh, oh. I'm dripping this glue. Why is this not? Alright, so maybe this isn't the best glue to use because it's dripping everywhere. Seriously. Press your finger down, lift it up. Push it down. Okay, there's a little bit of wiggle room, but not much, so you gotta be careful with that. It's making me a little nervous. I'd like to do the bottom. Give that time to sit, and then I'll slowly add to the rest of it. Again, let it sit, and then I'll add to the other half. So that way I know it's positioned right where I wanted it. Scooch it down a little bit. You have a little bit of wiggle room, but not too much. You just gotta be careful. Again, gotta be careful not to get too close to the edge because, you know, you're using it as an outline. Let it sit, and then you can plate the other half. I'm going to take a break from gluing just so that it can sit for a little bit and I can get away from the smell. Alright, so while we were away, I finished gluing those two, and I just want to show you how I'm going to slowly lift it up, put some glue here, slowly lift it up, put glue here, etc. I'm going to rush through trying to glue this, so I'm going to come back to you guys in a minute. Alright, something happened with my recording when I finished putting Olaf together, so this is the finished product. Sorry you didn't get to finish watching, but I just took the rest of my glue and lined his body parts and put them back on. So now he has to sit. This glue doesn't set fully for 24 hours, so he has to stay here for a while. He smells a little bit. Again, this wasn't the best glue choice, but he's definitely not going to fall apart using this. So I'm very, very happy. I love how glittery he is. Glittery, sparkly he is. But my daughter is obsessed with him, and she already saw him, so I'm hoping I can keep this away from her until her birthday. But he's definitely very cute. This is Olaf. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day.